Chenoy is there, if he's there, and a warm welcome to him. He's the Secretary General of FICCI. I would like to give a brief introduction on our Honorable Minister. Brief, though his work is very vast and the time is limited, so therefore a brief introduction. Our guest of honor, General Vijay Kumar Singh Ji, is presently the Honorable Union Minister of State for Road, Transport and Highways. Dr. Singh was previously the Union Minister of State for External Affairs and also held the independent charge for the development of Northeastern region. Dr. Singh has been a member of the Parliament from the Ghaziabad constituency since 2014, and this is his second term. Before being elected to the office, he was the 24th Chief of Staff in the Indian Army from 2010 to 2012. As a minister, Dr. Singh is highly admired for his dedication and result-oriented work style. Many consider him as the go-to man of the government for extreme complex situations. An example of his exemplary leadership was when he oversaw the rescue effort of the Indian government during Operation Rahat for the evacuation of Indian citizens and other foreign nationals from a war-torn Yemen during 2015 crisis in that country. Dr. Singh is widely known as a workhorse who has successfully managed to strike a difficult balance between the welfare activities of his parliamentary constituency, that is Ghaziabad, and the hectic demands of his ministries. Known to wear his heart on the sleeve, Dr. Singh is a great influence on people who want to be in the know about the issues of national interest. In the true sense of the word, Dr. Singh, in his relatively short career in politics, has been a very shining example of why we need more army people in public services and in public administration. Thank you. And Honorable Minister, I would like to introduce our President, Janavi Phukan. She is the 37th President of FICCI FLO. She is the first President of FLO from the Northeast India. Passionate about women's empowerment, Janavi strongly advocates and tirelessly works towards building sustainable livelihoods for women's economic upliftment. She's an entrepreneur and co-founder of 2 National Tourism Award-winning companies. Her companies are in travel and tourism, long-distance river cruising, hospitality, tea, and textiles, all of which touch women's lives and livelihood. She was a founder, vice chairperson of FLO Northeast chapter in 2007. And now over to you, Janvi.
Thank you, Poonam. Namaskar. Very warm welcome, General V.K. Singh, former Chief of Army Staff and the Minister of State for Road Transport and Highways. On behalf of FLO and our 8,000 members across the country, I wish to place on record our appreciation to you, sir, for giving us your time today. It could not have been more appropriate than to have you, the 24th Chief of Army Staff, with us today to mark the eve of the 74th Independence Day of our nation. Sir, you started your career as a military officer and became the first ever commando in the Indian Army to have been promoted to the rank of general. You were part of the 1971 India-Pakistan War and Operation Pawan. In July 2016, you led the exercise for the evacuation of Indians from violence in South Sudan under Operation Sankat Mochan. In your checkered career, you have represented India at several bilateral and multilateral events, as well as special assignments in Asia, Africa, Latin America, the Caribbean region, and Europe. You have served as Minister of Development of Northeastern region, donor with independent charge in the first Modi government. You are a strong proponent of making self-reliant India a movement. You have urged the nation to look inward and focus on local and indigenous industries so as to achieve self-reliance for an Atmanirbhar Bharat ahead. So, as we look to the future, we take this day to also look back and remember the past. We cannot ever forget those who gave their tomorrows for our today. We salute the memory of the lakhs of our civilians who fought in the freedom struggle, for those who fought the battles and not the wars, for those who died for the idea of a free India. Today, FLO seeks to honor the memory of the unsung women freedom fighters who played their role in the saga of our nation's freedom struggle from all corners of our country. On behalf of FLO and the 17 chapters that I represent, I once again welcome you, and I thank FLO governing body member Poonam Sharma for her support in making possible this session with you today. Sir, as a token of our gratitude, we have a virtual memento for you in this new normal. We hope to be able to send the physical memento to your office very soon. May I request IT to show the memento? Thank you. Thank you, IT. So, sir, now we would like to show you FLO's film on the unsung women freedom fighters of India. This is an ode from our 17 chapters across the country, whom we call One FLO. And I would like to acknowledge Pooja Garg, FLO, Lucknow chairperson for this visual tribute. I request you, sir, to please launch this visual tribute, and I would ask IT to please show the film. Thank you. before the visual tribute. Pooja, over to you. May I have the camera on, Pooja, please?
So sorry. Thank you so much. Good morning, Honorable Minister of the State, President Janvi Pukan, and all governing body members. In the fight for the independence of our motherland, as in many other fields and walks of life, women have been relegated to the background. Their contributions and sacrifices have gone unnoticed and unappreciated. However, I believe that the only way to keep any legacy alive in the consciousness of the nation is by talking about it and creating a narrative around it. I would like to thank our President, Mrs. Janvi Pukan, for realizing the importance of highlighting the sacrifices made by our fearless women, freedom fighters. This initiative will go a long way in establishing their contribution in the freedom struggle. It was such a privilege to work upon the project, and I can't thank Janvi enough for having faith in me and my team to do justice to such an ambitious endeavor. The idea was daunting at first, but soon became an extremely absorbing and enriching experience. It was a revelation to discover so many exceptional women who gave their all to secure future of our nation and for the future of generations. I would like to take this moment to thank all my fellow chapter chairs for doing all their research and suggesting one name each from their states. I would also like to thank my team for working with me tirelessly on researching the same. We hope that this effort by FLO, initiated by Mrs. Janvi Pukan, ensures that our women freedom fighters find their just and deserved place in the pantheons of Indian history. Thank you.
Thank you, Pooja. May I now invite you, Honorable Minister, to give us the keynote address. Thank you.
The President FLO, Janvi Fukanji, Jayanti Dalmia ji, Vice President, Poonam Sharma ji, GB Member, Dharitri Patnaik ji, Chapter Chair Bhubaneswar, Pooja Garg ji, Chapter Chair Lucknow, all the other members of FLO who are present here, members of FICCI who have facilitated this particular event. Let me first of all congratulate each and every one of you on the eve of Independence Day. It's an event which invokes not only patriotism, it invokes a lot of pride in the way India has moved forward after 1947. I would also like to congratulate Janvi ji and Pooja ji for this effort made to put together the unsung women freedom fighters who have been, a small compilation has been done by you. There are a lot of names which are remembered because the struggle was very long. There are some names which immediately come to the fore as you have done it. There are some names about which people still, when you ask them, there's a who was she. I think it is an ongoing task to bring out the contribution that women made to the struggle, whether it was in 1857 or subsequently for 1947. A lot of names you have already put down, whether it was the contribution made by Rani Lakshmi Bai, Kittur Rani Chennamma, a very famous name down south, Hazrat Mahal, who, in fact, there's a beautiful book which, if you have not read it, I would suggest that you read it. It's called A City of Gold and Silver by Kaniz Murad, who says that she is She was part of the Nawab's lineage in Lucknow. And in this, she describes how the fourth wife of Nawab, Hazrat Mahal, took over the throne after he was incarcerated and he died in Kolkata, incarcerated by the British. And she led the struggle. She made the life miserable for British who wanted to destroy the world's most opulent and beautiful city, Lucknow. And she held on till the last, subsequently retreating into the Tarai area, joining Kunwar Singh in a battle in which the British found themselves no match for them. And then by deceit, she was taken under house arrest in Nepal. You have Tilu Roteli from Uttarakhand, a very inspiring story if you go through it. I had the pleasure of witnessing a small play on her when I visited about 2 years back, when I visited Dehradun along with the Chief Minister. We have Lakshmi Sehgal, the first woman who came to Indian National Army. You have Matangini Hajra. You have Kanaklata Barua. The land is full. I mean, it's not just one name. And there's one name which at times doesn't come to the fore, and that is of Durga Bhavi. The way she supported, aided, worked to keep the revolutionaries alive and motivating them is another name that a lot of times gets missed out. Independence struggle affected each and every section of the society. There are a lot of people who came in the front line. There are some people who are in the behind the stage managing things. And all I can say is that it is time now that we start looking at them to motivate the younger generation today as to what all they could do at that time in difficult times. Difficult because the societal norms were different, educational status was different, the way the society functioned in terms of the curbs which were on the women were much more than what they were on men. And in those times, for somebody to take part in the struggle and uh, ensure that they not only said good things about all the people who are fighting, but also took active part in it, is something which needs to be remembered. I think, Janviji, your project will get enlarged. I'm quite sure that this is just the beginning, and the bigger it becomes, the better it is. And I'm sure once you make an appeal, whole of country and all the women of the country will assist the FICCI Ladies Organization to make this particular project of yours to bring in front of everybody the unsung women warriors of who fought for independence. I think that will be a true tribute to the women of India. This there is just one thing which I think needs to be highlighted as the country goes on the path of progress. Today, the youth feels that patriotism is only on 2 days, 26th January and 15th of August. The rest is, well, it's just, something which carries on. A lot of times they feel that uh, it is their own mundane needs that must be met first and not think of the country as such. I think it is upon all of us to motivate the youth because they are the future. If they don't get motivated, then things will not go the way we all hope it will. And if India has to move forward, India has to become self-reliant, it is the youth. And youth is both masculine and feminine who have to get together to take India much more forward. We have great talent in our youth. Now that talent has to be put in the right direction, and I'm quite sure with the type of efforts you all are making, you would be able to contribute towards this particular objective much more meaningfully. It is not only motivating the youth to be innovative, it is also to motivate the youth to acquire the entrepreneurship by which they can take things forward. Today, when you look around, most of the people look for a job. Entrepreneurship is still lacking. I think with the FICCI being there, there's a great amount you can do to promote entrepreneurship, especially in women, so that we have a large reservoir of talent that can be tapped. With these words, let me wish each one of you the very best on Eve of Independence Day. It's been a pleasure to be amongst you. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
It's such an honor to hear you speak and the words that you've given us, yes, for our youth and for entrepreneurship for the days ahead. May I ask you start with the first question for you? That, sir, you have defended the country's borders as a soldier, and now you defend the country's stature in the world as a civilian. You retired as the Chief of the Army Staff in 2012 and went on to wrest the Lok Sabha seat in 2014 with the second highest victory margin in the elections, second only to Prime Minister Modi ji's. Tell us a bit about the journey between these two very different worlds that you have traveled.
They're two different spheres altogether. And
Thanks.
different in each and every way. Different in, I mean, if I was to say, the difference is like the ocean and the sky. You come from an organization which is totally different, which is focused, which is which works on strict discipline, and you enter into another organization or a system which is totally different. You don't find things common at all. What had happened was that when I retired, in the last 1 week, one question that used to keep coming into head was, what are you going to do after retirement? There were options were there. You follow what the others have done, the best option. You don't have to think, you don't have to bother. It's a well laid out option, which all others have followed after retirement. Play golf in the evening, golf in the morning, golf in the evening, go on a cocktail circuit, meet people once in a while, deliver a lecture somewhere, and generally curse everybody around you that things are not moving around. I somehow decided that for 42 years in the army, one has taken the respect, the love, the affection of the countrymen and the society in general. And probably the time is there to return it back to the society. And that is what prompted me to start interacting with the farming community, because it is the farming community and their offsprings. 96% of the army belongs to them. They are the maximum number who come to the army. So I started interacting with the farmers, looking at their problems. And in the course of this, at some point of time in 2012, I started interacting with the youth with the aim that we needed to reclaim India. We needed to reclaim our values. We needed to reclaim our good things so that we can take India forward. And sometime in end 2012, I decided to take on the task of helping another Fauji, Anna Hazare, and requested him that I would help him in getting back to where he was in 2012, July. And this journey took me in 2013 to make an organization called Jantantra Morcha. We took Anna Hazare starting on a yatra from Jallianwala Bagh, and we did large number of states, starting from Punjab, Himachal, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, part of Bihar. And that is when he fell sick because it was a punishing schedule from morning 6 o'clock to night almost 12 o'clock. Then there was a break in our journey. And then he decided that he wanted to press on for the Lokpal bill. We assisted him in that. After the Lokpal bill was passed, I told him, now you are where you should have been. And I think I can move on. Go somewhere. He said, what are you going to do? I said, problem is that throughout this year and a half, I've been telling people, let's get those people into political system who don't have political background. Maybe that will change the perception of politics that people have. When you get people who are absolutely new to politics. So he said, are you going to join politics? I said, I don't know. I love to ask people in my area because they are insistent that if I'm asking them to do something, they tell me, why don't you go first? And we will follow you and we'll see what happens to you. So that risk was taken. 2014, I joined Bharatiya Janata Party because I found all other options were not as good or had their own shortfalls. And the shock was when I was told you have to contest elections. In army, you don't contest elections. You're not used to contesting elections. So it was quite a thing to think out as to what it would mean. And then the party said the seat from where you will contest will be decided by us, not you. So one fine day, almost at quarter to 11, I got a call and Modi ji said, we have decided you will contest from Ghaziabad. I was taken aback. I said, I don't know Ghaziabad. He said, no, but we have decided. The next day I went out there. I had a lot of people waving black flags. They wanted local to contest. And there was somebody who was with me. He said, General Saab, I think you should just say you don't want to contest. I said, no. Once I have taken on a task, I think I will. And I think it was the love of people and all other things. So one got a victory margin, and then one dedicated himself to ensuring that we change the image of Ghaziabad. Ghaziabad, which was known more by what you saw in a film called Jila Ghaziabad, where it was, only criminal gangs existing out there. Today, Ghaziabad is different. And I'm quite sure more changes will come by the time this tenure ends in Ghaziabad. So this is how this journey started, and now one is totally into it to ensure that one does work for the society and for the people from where one is living.
Wisdom. So for your words of wisdom, your experience you bring to the country, the valor, the love for your nation, we are always be in your debt. May I now ask my FLO past president, Nita Buchra, please ask her question. The next question after Ms. Buchra will be by Poonam Sharma, please. Nita Buchra, please. Has IT found Nita Buchra, or shall we go ahead with Poonam Sharma first, please? Poonam, will you take the question?
Yeah.
Namaskar.
Okay, sorry. Neeta ji, आप चलिए.
Namaskar.
Can I be heard, please?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello.
You can be heard.
Yes, we can hear you.
गुलाबी शहर जयपुर से आपका अभिवादन अभिनंदन। और इसी के साथ मैं अपना प्रश्न पूछना चाहूंगी। As we complete 73 years of our independence, we all need to work towards making a united and prosperous India. Prime Minister has urged for a self-reliant India, आत्मनिर्भर भारत। इसके बारे में हम आपके व्यूज जानना चाहेंगे।
धन्यवाद नीता जी। कि आत्मनिर्भर भारत का जो आह्वान है, जिस जोर से अब किया गया है, वो इससे पहले नहीं किया गया था। आत्मनिर्भरता की बात पहले भी होती रही है। अगर आप देखेंगे कि जिस प्रकार से हमारा औद्योगिकरण शुरू हुआ आजादी के बाद, आत्मनिर्भरता की तरफ था। कई चीजें हुई, लेकिन इस सबके अंदर वो चीज नहीं आ पाई जिसके बारे में एक लोगों ने सोचा था कि हम पूरे तरीके से आत्मनिर्भर हो जाए। कुछ इसके अंदर there were many things which did not fit into it at that time, and as a result, अगर आप देखेंगे इस 70 साल से ज्यादा के अंदर हम कई चीजों में काफी आगे निकले, but that self-reliance was still somewhat eluding us. And what does self-reliance actually mean? It means that you should be able to tap the talent of the country to do things which provides jobs, which provides intellectual capacity, which provides all possible avenues, and then you are not dependent on any other country. Globalized world है, ये बहुत तो आपको डिपेंडेंस आपकी रहेगी। ऐसा बात नहीं है कि आप सब चीजें अपने आप कर सकते हैं, लेकिन इस ग्लोबलाइज्ड वर्ल्ड में भी आप जितना ज्यादा कर सकते हैं उतना आपके सिस्टम को और अच्छा बनाता है। और इसलिए लगता है कि अब जो एक आवाज उठी है प्रधानमंत्री जी, वो वाकई में एक ऐसी आवाज है जिसके ऊपर चलना जरूरी है। चाहे रक्षा का मामला हो, चाहे उद्योगों का मामला हो, चाहे इनोवेशन का मामला हो, चाहे हमारी एजुकेशन का मामला हो, इन सबको आत्मनिर्भरता की तरफ ले जाने के लिए ये जो आवाज उठी है, उसी से भारत आत्मनिर्भर। आत्मनिर्भरता में सबसे बड़ी चीज ये है कि हम सब ने उसमें मिलकर काम करना। हमारे यहाँ एक छोटी सी कमी है देश में, हमारे यहाँ एडवाइजर्स ज्यादा है। आज आप कहें कि मुझे डायबिटीज के बारे में बता दो, आपको 1000 आदमी सड़क पे मिल जाएंगे जो आपको डायबिटीज का एडवाइस दे देंगे, चाहे सही हो चाहे ना हो। वही आत्मनिर्भर एडवाइजर्स बहुत है। जब उनको हम कहते हैं कि काम करिए, तो काम के अंदर थोड़ा सा दिक्कत है। तो शायद लोगों को इस चीज के लिए प्रेरित करना जरूरी है, और इसीलिए मैंने जानवी जी को भी यही चीज कही कि ये अपने युवा वर्ग को अगर हम प्रेरणा दे सके, अगर हम उनको सही लाइन पर डाल सके, अगर हम उनकी शिक्षा को इस तरीके से बनाने की कोशिश करें कि उनके अंदर देश के प्रति एक ऐसा भाव जगे कि हमने देश को आगे लेकर जाना। अपने को तो लेके जाना, वो आगे बढ़ेंगे तो देश भी आगे बढ़ेगा, लेकिन देश सबसे अगर ऊपर होगा तो अपने आप ज्यादा चीजें ठीक।
बहुत महत्वपूर्ण प्रेरणा दी है आपने, हृदय से आभार, धन्यवाद।
Sir, I'd like to ask a question. Can you see me?
Yes.
So, yeah, we watched with pride when in your last tenure as MOS External Affairs, you undertook the Operation Rahat and Operation Sankat Mochan. and we were glued to the television biting our nails, where you personally went there and rescued 8,000 plus Indians and foreigners from 48 countries. How was this how was this operation different from a typical army operation? Was it more difficult to maneuver there, or because army procedures are so well known and you are so used to them? How difficult was this for you?
Ranjit, thank you for asking this question. Actually, like I said, there is a whale of a difference between how the army works and rest of the other organizations. If I'll put it this way, if it would have been an army operation, we would have got all the information and then we would have planned it out. In this, we just had the demand from people that since the war has broken out, there are shelling going on, we need to be evacuated. Condition was very awkward. On top of it, there was a group of nations which was fighting against the Yemenis. In Yemen itself, there were 6 different groups which were fighting each other. Nobody knew who was fighting who. Now that makes things very, very different and very, very awkward. So initially, when I left this place, the choice was whether I go to Muscat, where 2 of our aircraft had been placed, Air India aircraft, and I decided that I should actually go somewhere else, uh, which is nearer Yemen. And that's how I made the base there from where to start the things. The first problem that we had to encounter was how do we fly in? Because the airspace was being controlled by the allies of Saudi Arabia. The navies were controlling the seas. Now we had to get permissions to ensure that we are able to fly in, as also our ships can go uh, to get people out from Yemen. Uh, Getting these permissions was becoming difficult, and ultimately, I think it was all the work done by late Sushma ji and our Honorable Prime Minister, who spoke at the highest level, that we were told that we will get windows of time in which we can fly. I remember the first flight that we had to go on. Our time given to us was 2 hours. We haggled for about 2.5 hours because it used to take about 45 minutes to an hour to reach Sana, the capital. And then to load people and get back, the time was insufficient. So we haggled for 2.5 hours. And while the aircrafts were about to take off, I decided I must go because if I don't know what is there, because in the army they say if you don't see things on ground yourself, you will never know the exact feel of what happens out there. So I didn't have a visa to go to Yemen, but I sat in the aircraft and landed there, and I realized that what the task was all about. The airport had been totally destroyed. There was nothing out there. There was no transportation. Communication was lacking, and large number of people had come, and there were just 2 aircraft. So we had to get them out. We also had to get the formalities completed so that tomorrow, when things settle down, they they are able to go back and do their whatever business they were in. They are able to continue that. So we had to get some Yemeni officials to come and stamp their passports. Uh, and in this, we could only take out about half the number of people who were there. So I stayed back. I didn't come back to Djibouti. I stayed back and decided that I must work in the night. I must get the things organized for next day and see for myself as to how things are. If it was army, I probably would have had the protection here. I didn't know what was happening. We had not taken anything with me. So we, by night, we found a place, a hotel which had been abandoned, but it had Indian staff, 6 people out there. And luckily, they had a Gadwali cook who said he'll be able to provide Indian meal to us. We had an Indian meal. I washed my clothes and left them for to dry, so that next morning they'll still be fresh. And in the night, we tied up things. Uh, there were too many things that had to be done. You know, how to get people. So we made a group of our the Bura community who were willing to assist us as to fetching these people from various places, passing the messages, then providing certain amenities of food and milk for the babies and water, etc. at the airport. So all that was tied up in that period. And next day, we were able to take out another 2 aircraft worth. This carried on for 10 days. And I had to come back from Sana because uh, I was warned by the Houthi intelligence that I might become a good publicity this thing for the Al Qaeda. So I said it is better to go to Djibouti and come every day. When you compare it with the army, similarities were there because you were landing in places where active hostilities were on. Every day was different. Every day situation changed, and taking out the people this way was a huge task, major task. Unfortunately, what happens is that our citizens, when they are in a situation like this, or when they see situation deteriorating, they never take the advisories that are issued seriously. Typical reaction would be, "अरे कल शायद ठीक हो जाएगा." Situation will improve. Why go now? Till the time that shell doesn't land on their house, they're quite happy sitting there. So it was difficult to at the last minute to get people out. And I'll give you one example. Uh, I think this was the fifth day, I think, when we were taking out people. I saw a lady with what looked like a doll, and I said to myself, "Look at these people. Their life is at stake, and she's carrying a doll with her to get evacuated." Later on, I got into that aircraft and I had a habit of talking to everybody. And I realized that was not a doll, that was a baby born 3 days back. So I asked her, I said, "Why didn't you go out early?" She said, "We thought situation would become all right." And when we landed, luckily for us, the health advisor in Djibouti was an Indian lady, a doctor from Tamil Nadu. We passed on a message that she should come and check the baby. The baby was seriously undernourished and jaundiced. She had to be put into a incubator. There was only one available in Djibouti, which kind courtesy this doctor we were able to get. And after stabilizing the child for 2 days, we sent the doctor, the baby, and the mother to in our aircraft to Trivandrum so that she could leave them and come back. I mean, dealing with things was totally different. Uh, if you in army you would have various things which are available. Here you have to do everything. That was the major difference.
Thank you, Ji.
That was so fascinating. We have a question from FLO Bhubaneswar Chapter Chair, Dharitri Patnaik. Dharitri, please come in and ask your question.
Namaskar, Mantriji. It was very inspiring listening to you, especially your journey from being an army general to being a politician. a lot of us do want to get into politics or do serve the country in various ways. I would like to know, what are your plans now with this COVID pandemic turning our lives upside down? What are your plans for your ministry, especially the roads that were being constructed in Ladakh and other border areas? Can you please talk to us about your plans?
Daritriji, a very good question by you. Let me say that I wish you all the luck if you want to enter politics. Uh, Follow your heart on that. It is good if you can work for the society. Now, where COVID conditions are concerned, a lot of things had come to a stop. For the simple reason that that was the best possible measure to ensure that infections don't suddenly burst out. And you have seen what exactly has happened after the lockdown was lifted. And lockdown also had to be lifted because without economic activity, a lot of more problems will come. You know, you have people who are working, they don't get their salary. So many other things are there. The economic slowdown has taken place. Now, where the road transport and highways ministry is concerned, right from beginning, we got involved in ensuring that the essential supplies are transported from wherever in the country it was there to the places where it is. For example, a lot of things had to go from south to Assam. We ensured it reached there, right, and all over northeast. And this was coordinated. There were many problems because although the roads were empty, but empty roads mean you don't find people who will give you food, you don't find any people who can repair your vehicle. It was quite this thing. So we put in our network of tolls and toll staff and our other staff to ensure that there is no stoppage where essential supplies are. Then came a phase when certain things were loosened up, when non-essential supplies also started traveling. And we found that we were able to manage it pretty well. Then came a phase when we said, I think we must restart our infrastructural work because without that, things will not happen. And infrastructure is one sector which can actually add to the country's economy. So, out of almost 1,300 projects that were functioning before the lockdown came in, we started almost 800 projects. Slowly, the workers started coming in, and we started move the transport sector to ensure that all the drivers who had gone home, they can come to a particular place, required measures can be taken. And today, all our projects are working. Whether it is Ladakh or it is Chennai, whether it is Odisha or it is somewhere else, all our projects are working. There are some projects where the full strength of workers hasn't come, but we are trying to ensure that timelines are not seriously affected. I mean, there will be an effect of, let's say, 3 months or 4 months because work had totally come to a stop, but not beyond that. So that's what we are working.
Thank you so much.
And for such time, the permanent service is now extended to women officers in the armed forces. However, the army are still not allowed women in the frontline combat units, as in the infantry and the artillery corps. The United States, Israel, North Korea, France, Germany, Netherlands, Australia, and Canada are among the global militaries that employ women in frontline combat positions. Will that day of equal roles of frontline combat units of women ever come to our country?
Janviji, you asked a very politically sensitive question. But let me be very frank on this question. No country in the world puts women in the front line. No country in the world.
No?
None. A lot of people flout the photographs of women soldiers in Israel. They're all, in Israel, all citizens carry arms. They all defend the borders. But they're not frontline soldiers. There's a difference. And the reasons are very simple. Let's say when the hostilities start, some people do get captured. If, let's say, Rajesh Singh gets captured, he's another POW. But if Rashmi gets captured, the sentiment of the society are totally different. No, I think we need to be sensitive to that. The second thing, which, since you mentioned the US, let me tell you what one of the Marine generals said in the Senate hearings. He said, armed forces are meant to defend the country. Armed forces are not for social causes. And this was a debate on inducting transgenders into the, allowing transgenders to get into the US Army. And he said, social causes, there are many avenues in which they can be taken forward. But when you start using armed forces, then you're playing with the security of the nation. There are many areas in armed forces where women can work, and they must work. Equals. But then at that time, when they work as equals, we should never have a differentiation. In the US, they had soldiers and officers. India only has officers. You can't have that.
See.
And if you have soldiers, then where are you going to employ them? That must be worked out. And all of you who have followed the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, when US was there, the Time and Newsweek of that period, there were a number of articles as to how the women soldiers suffered by their own people. And that is when only about 30% of them spoke. No, we don't want that thing to happen. And that is why, as the things change, you find induction is taking place. And we are moving in a direction which is right. Nothing can be done, in a hurry. You need to ensure that, like, I'll give an example. You require a drone, as it is called. We call it unarmed aircraft or vehicle. Now, a UAV, a pilot who flies, is on the ground. Women have better ability to work on computers than men. Can we use that talent there? No, that is how we have to work. It should not be, okay, because we have to get women into the armed forces, let's put them everywhere. Because then you are not matching their skills and their abilities to the type of task that you want. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for that answer. It was always in the back of our mind. So we have to, there's so much to learn from you. So many stories are still untold, but we have to let you go. We want to have you back with us someday. And thank you so much once again. May I now ask our FLO Vice President, Jayanti Dalmia, to give us the vote of thanks. Jayanti Dalmia, please.
Namaskar. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Jayanti.
Namaskar. On behalf of FLO, I would like to thank you, General Dr. V.K. Singh, Minister of State for Road Transport and Highways and former Chief of Army Staff, for giving us your valuable time and addressing us today. Your commitment and love for our nation is really commendable. Your address with your personal journey in the army and as a politician has given us a lot of takeaways. All this has given us a feeling of pride for a great nation. My sincere thanks to past presidents, chapter chairs, and governing body members for joining us. Thank you, Poonam Sharma, governing body member, for your support and making this session happen. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Jai Hind. Namaskar.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister. And
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Jay.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you, sir.
Many congratulations.
Went well, no?
Good session, huh?
Very nicely done.
Yeah. I hope. Are we on the queue?
We
No.
are. So, yeah, so we are. So,
Yeah, okay. Then thank you very much, Prasad. Thank you, team. Love you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Independence Day, everyone.
Happy
Good night.
Independence.
आपको भी
बहुत बहुत मुबारक. नीता जी, नमस्कार.
where is she?
Poonam,
Yeah, I can you hear me? Hi.
hi, Jai Hind.
Seriously, I mean,
Very nice, lovely. It's
I-
nice to hear the personal journeys of people like him. They're so inspirational.
yeah, he has many more stories, but
I
naturally,
know it must be so many. Sure.
and he was commanding just before he became the chief whole of Northeast.